Hey everyone, Chris here. Recently I noticed something hilarious in a Tomb Raider 2 cutscene, and it inspired me to make a video or two about classic Tomb Raider cutscenes, about how they were made, the nifty little shortcuts that animators took, and some downright bizarre stuff that we were never supposed to see. So first up, Tomb Raider 1. The format's going to be this. In the top left, you're going to see the original cutscene, and the full screen footage is the camera popped out and me just maneuvering it around the scene. So this initial first cutscene, it doesn't look very surprising. I mean, the animators, they have basically recreated Lara's every single move, and there's no janky, strange animations, there's nothing odd going on with any of the limbs, everything is as it should be, which is really cool, and you might be thinking, yeah, so what? Well, you'll see in the rest of this video how that isn't always the case, but I just wanted to include this one as a prime example of full body, normal animation.
Thank you. I will.
Everyone remembers this cutscene. Lara's reading the mural, walking along next to it, except she isn't. The animators have taken a nifty little shortcut here by basically having us look at the mural and then just animated Lara gliding along next to it because we can't see what she's doing. It reminds me of the gentleman from Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the way they sort of glide above the ground as they move. We hear her footsteps, and then right at the last minute when the camera pans down and we see Lara again, it looks as though she's been walking the entire way. It's a crafty little shortcut. In this last cutscene of Tomb Raider 1, Natla is all over the place. She's gliding around out of shot when we can't see her, and when we're only looking at her and Lara is out of shot, then Lara starts gliding along as well. Basically just putting her in place so that when the camera moves it looks as though she's been walking when in fact she hasn't. Again, it's the animators taking shortcuts, and it's a completely normal thing. I mean, this part here where they're just revolving around each other, just getting them into a new place so that it looks as though there's been movement when in fact there hasn't. It's a cool shortcut. I think a lot of people use this. I mean, it's something that's done in films as well. You're never going to see 100% of movement, so it's just a cool way of getting them where you need them to be. Final thing, Natla doesn't fall into the lava. For some reason they decided to just stop, like halfway down. She's just there, in midair. Why not? I guess we're not supposed to see it anyway, but it's interesting to see. Moving on to Tomb Raider 2, some strange things happen in this cutscene. Remember that guy who jumps out on Lara? He kind of warps through solid wall. Of course, we never see that. Now, a lot of this cutscene, you see Lara's upper body, so they didn't really have to worry about what was going on with Lara's legs too much. So you can see here she sort of glides along again, her legs get in position to look like she's kneeling down, but no one's ever going to see that her knee is actually through the rock. When the camera is looking at Lara, it needs to be in the place where the goon is sat down, so they had to move him out the way so that the camera doesn't sort of pick up any bits of his textures.
Perhaps not just yet, then.
So quick edit and Lara appears on the other side of the room, and this isn't the first time we're going to see an object levitating. Because of perspective, we don't know that it's actually levitating. Similar things happen in this cutscene that takes place in the plane. We don't always have to see what's going on with Lara's legs, so being able to see that they're actually a little bit all over the place and wonky sometimes is quite funny. Of course, this cutscene takes place in two different rooms, and as it's editing between the two, Lara just freezes in place and picks up when it comes back to her. Of course, because of the point of view of the camera, we would never know that the boxes aren't even complete. Like this one is just completely transparent. And then this guy at the end of the cutscene, well, Lara reacts too quickly, but he hits her with enough force to actually knock her through the floor and half of her body vanishes underneath. But the stuff that's going on with Lara isn't even the most strange thing about this cutscene. If we solely focus on the other room where the two villains are sat, When the camera cuts away from them, sometimes they switch seats. Sometimes they both sit in the same place and occupy the same space. At the end of the cutscene, Bartoli's animation just loops, repeatedly, endlessly. It's not something we would ever see, but it's funny to know that's what's happening.
Have you fixed that rail yet?
The cutscene with Lara and the monk, everything is pretty completely animated. There's a lot of shots where you see both characters in their full body, so care had to be taken that nothing looked a bit too odd. One of the funny things I found though was this haunted shoe, the one that we always thought that Lara throws at him. No, it was ghosts all along. You can see it floating through the air before it flies at him. Of course, we're supposed to think Lara does it, but I find it hilarious how it glides into shot. And then when Bartoli appears again, from Lara's perspective, he's stood up there on that ledge, except we can actually see he's actually floating about a foot off the floor, but because of the perspective, we never know that he's actually not stood properly on the ground. And in the final bit of that cutscene, Lara's dive into the water, she plummets down much faster than she ever does in-game itself. Now this was the cutscene that spawned the idea for this video because, well, you'll see. Lara freezes when the action isn't on her, but that's not the interesting thing, because when Marco plunges the dagger into his chest, and we always thought that the power was to turn him into a dragon, well, no one mentions the side effect that it will turn his neck into Lara's butt. I double checked with the cutscene from the game itself, and it's real. When he stabs himself, Lara's groin appears on his throat. I have absolutely no idea how this could have happened or why it was done, but the camera angles in the game make it quite cleverly disguised and we never really see it properly. It's just utterly bizarre, and I couldn't stop laughing when I found this out. That's everything I want to include in this video. Let me know if you enjoyed this video in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know if you want to see more like this, because I'm sure there are a ruck more in Tomb Raiders 3 and 4.